Yes. I'm going to spend the rest of the video elaborating, as you may guess, but if you want a short answer and want to go do something else, in my humble opinion, EU5 is actually good. But in the same way that sometimes there are meetings that could have been emails, well, if the answer was truly this simple, this wouldn't be a video, this would be a community post or a Discord announcement, right? Or maybe in just one of my comments section I would have pinged a message saying EU5 good, instead of posting a link to my Discord, but you get the point. Now, this is also a Let's Talk episode. I have done one of these before for the discussion, dare I say, about the Paradox DLC policy, which is to say that for the background today, please enjoy the continuation of my Castile into Spain into Rome. No other tag switches, one faith, one culture, true one tag run. That campaign is nearing its conclusion. I just need to clean up, go over to the New World and get the colonies and culture conversions done. But to be clear, if you want to shove this video into the background tab or on a second monitor, that's absolutely fine. Do feel free to listen to this one from this point onwards or enjoy my EU4 gameplay if you wish. I really should finish this campaign off before EU5 drops in earnest, but yeah, anyway. Now that we are on the topic of EU5, I'm not allowed to show EU5 footage, as you may have guessed, but I can confirm that I'll be showing off EU5 gameplay on the 31st of October, and there will be an embargo lift on the 2nd of November, so 2 full days before release. I'm planning on doing a 2nd of November and onwards big live Let's Play and Q&A for EU5, so answering questions and doing a full campaign playthrough, or as close as I can to a full campaign playthrough from that point onwards. But yeah, if that's something that interests you, well, a subscription would be appreciated, and a like would be amazing in the video in general. But enough self-shilling, let's get into the video proper. And ironically, since I did mention self-shilling, the first thing I think it is important to mention is I do have a creator affiliate link from Paradox, so naturally this means I'm, shall we say, financially incentivized to go scream order EU5 best game ever since sliced bread. Please use the code buy, stop asking questions. The problem is that this is actually an understatement, because, well, I am an EU4 boy at heart, I love EU4. This means that from a purely personal bias level as well, I'm significantly more likely to enjoy something that is, in many ways, basically just a newer, flashier EU4. Now I think, and I want to believe I'm correct in saying that, I am still in a position to offer insights into the game as it were, but at the same time, if you wish to dismiss my opinions on the topic due to any of the reasons I've already mentioned, you can just do that, right? My problem is that one, well, again, as mentioned, you can't just do that. It is your right to dismiss everything I say and hold your own opinion, however ill-informed or incorrect I may believe your opinion to be. But also, two, my construction, anything I say in the video would not change your mind on the topic. Now, I think it's nevertheless important to mention these biases, and I don't have a comeback or a clever response here because, well, even if I made the best one possible, the reality of the situation is it can be so fundamentally dismissed under the, well, of course you'd say that, he's very biased to be pro-EU5, and the conversation would conclude there. So let's take this as a more systematic review, and I do want to start with the positives. I am very pleased with the underlying systems of the game, how those systems actually play, the overall vision of EU5, and the insanity of the scope of the game itself. Where here I'm going to use the term insanity as a positive. To give an example, because at the time of this example happening in question, I was actually in the situation where I found it infuriating, but the next day, thinking back on it, I was like, you know what, that was actually really cool. The example in question, well, in EU5, you don't have a static income of food. Your rate of food gain depends on the location and climate, namely that in large parts of Europe, your food output is greatly increased in late summer, think August, and your food production drops like 80% in the winter because you don't really have a harvest and you're just kind of like foraging for berries, I guess. Anyway, you have food storages, a base amount in each provinces, and granaries you can build, which give you food storage capacity to kind of mitigate and offset these jumps and spikes and drops in food production. Right, so in my Italy game, following a series of some prolonged and difficult fighting, due to the high price of famine, I was keeping a close eye on my food reserves and they were dropping. Not a famine yet, I still had food, but it went from full stockpiles to 3/4 full, to then finally 1/4 full. Now, raising levies is pretty detrimental to food production and all resource production, as you may guess, and realizing that my third year of constant fighting was not helping my food reserves, in July, I actually sued for peace early, and took a lot less than I wanted in the peace deal I was fighting. Why? Well, I realized that if I kept fighting, I would run out of food in the Naples market and have a famine, so I dismissed my levy so I can actually go grow my food during the peak summer season, because to be honest, I would probably need this one and another year to recover my food reserves before I could go back to war comfortably. At the same time, I found this annoying. This new fancy food system was stopping me from doing my wars and carrying out my plans, so I was frankly again frustrated. But looking back, EU5 had managed to make me partake in emergent gameplay of your peasants are out there fighting, therefore if they're fighting, they're not harvesting your grain. And you can miss a harvest, maybe two if you build granaries literally everywhere, but nevertheless food reserves are not endless. Now of course this is still a skill issue. Give me another 1k hours and I would hopefully be able to perma-war and still do harvests with raised levies after sufficient optimizations. But looking back, wow. Now with EU5, the scope starts insane, everything from societal sliders to privilege lists in the hundreds, and probably close to 1,000, if not more, building types exist. And when I can change the production methods my fishing villages used to catch fish, well, you get the idea of the scope and depth of the game. Another example of unique stuff is Bavarians get access to a unique production method for beer. But this is discussing systems or mechanics that exist in the game. There's also a lot of stuff inside of EU5 that fundamentally, from a game design and vision point of view, I consider very good. As an example, there's a dedicated automation area where you can automate certain actions in your nation, ranging from do all of my trade for me to frankly absurd things like pick technologies for me, choose government reforms for me, and interact with all my estates for me, and build armies automatically for me. None of the things I said are a joke or exaggeration, by the way. Those are just literally things I'm reading out of the list that I can go and automate right now with a click of a button. Frankly, if there is one thing I'm not worried about EU5 at all, is the vision and the design of the game. The mechanics, the depths of gameplay, those are all there, and those are all great. Here I think Paradox has genuinely gone above and beyond. But now that we mentioned the depths of gameplay, let's get to the start of the worries before we get to the bad. I think the fundamental issue for EU5, ironically enough, is that even by the standards of Paradox games, the learning curve isn't even a cliff, it's me power-dropping a caveman into Stanford. See, my first game before I'm paused, as I went through the menus, through all the buildings and everything, trying to understand things, it took me 4 hours before I was comfortable actually unpausing. And looking back, I was like, 4 hours is a long time, surely I was exaggerating. I gaslit myself, but no. I've had a couple chats with people that I know are not stupid, and look, something as simple as granting a privilege out to an estate includes an evaluation of what estate power is, how estate power interacts with existing state power, so if your estate has 100 base power and plus 500 from privileges, giving them another plus 50% mean they go to 100 and plus 550, which is significantly less impactful than an estate having 500 base power and plus 0%, going to 500 and plus 50%, right? As well as understanding the modifier effect of the privilege and then the societal slider implications of what does plus 0.1 towards aristocracy actually mean in practice. And again, all of this is happening without unpausing or leaving the estate window. Now, nested tooltips help a huge amount for sure. The game does really try with tutorials, but the reality of the situation is, I still believe it's overall not great. It's a bit hard for me though to judge tutorials. I have at this point kind of learned the game enough to not need them, and not gonna lie, when I did start learning EU5, tutorials were, well, how do I say it? Back in my day, the tutorial for I Want to Learn War just started the game as Castile, with nothing else. Just, oh, you want to learn war? Okay, play Castile. That was the entire tutorial. Very based, but you get the point. And of course, it's improved a lot since then, but I don't think the learning curve of the game as a whole has stopped being an issue. Next, and this is more of a personal issue, or can be seen as a personal issue, but one thing I think has to be mentioned is that EU4 was already not known as a video game that was good for, shall we say, casual enjoyment. And look, if you are a father or have limited spare time for video games, aka you're outside of school or university, I genuinely think you should not partake in EU5 or even EU4 because you will not have the physical time in the day to play the game. Your best bet is to wait until retirement. Of course, you can speedify bad micro a game, but that itself requires a learned skill you won't have time to learn. And with EU5 adding hours into the game itself, it just plays slower, I find. Now, my Florence into Italy campaign I've mentioned a couple times already. Well, I was playing just that campaign and decided to trust Steam for my hour reports. After 55 hours, I've reached 1400. Now, I did speed up a bunch later after unifying Italy and basically focused on internal development from that point onwards, but after 132 hours of gameplay, I'm in... Actually, screw the script, I'm going to go and check. I am on... There we go, it's 11 AM on the 22nd of January, 1545, after 132 hours of EU5. I do believe this is a huge detriment, not even from a late-game context, but even things like the Protestant Reformation, which are gated behind 150 years of gameplay. Now, the developers, I believe, have communicated they certainly have considered other start dates, but at the moment are focused on getting 1337 right, and that other start dates are something they strongly consider for the future. I'm actually going to say, though, I agree entirely with this approach. After all, if they get 1337 wrong, there won't be an EU5 for them to consider in the future. But also, even more than EU4, you can't just move the clock forward and call it a day. You need to model average population changes to urbanization, the present buildings within those urbanized and deurbanized areas, changes to market distribution and centers, and so much more. I believe for post-release desires, other start dates are my main I want this desire, but nevertheless, this is still something I can fundamentally point to as absent in EU5. But that all said, let's also be honest, so far I've mentioned, a major positive and two negatives that are frankly positives if you're a 4K hours in EU4 kind of player. The negatives, Lemon. Is this just a glorified ad for EU5? No, that comes later on the 31st of October. Actually, make sure to use code Lemon Cake. No, my main issue at the moment, and the universe where I actually see EU5 crash and burn at the moment, are the bugs, glitches, and broken stuff just present in the game. What remains as a huge holdout of hope for me is at the rate at which all the bugs have been fixed. It's an insane rate, and a genuine case of found stuff reported it's fixed, like sometimes within the literal hour. Or more likely, it's a bug reported they already knew about and fixed in the dev versions, but nevertheless, when I made the 5 funniest bugs in EU5 video, I could do that because EU5 basically had an all-you-can-eat feasts of bugs for me to talk and select the funniest ones from. And even the funny fort video was literally just one patch which has been fixed and changed now. And guess what the EU5 dev team is considering? Or Johan, or I'm not sure internally, but maybe in the game, maybe not, but they're fiddling with a fort force limit, which basically means that if you go above your fort cap, you have increased fort maintenance. I think it's a cool idea that needs testing to be implemented, and fundamentally a huge amount of bugs being fixed daily, or even frankly hourly, does give me an impression of a team, or at least Johan at the bare minimum, who cares a lot about the game. But even with all of that praise I'm saying right now, yeah, look, this is a negative section for a reason. The honest answer is every time a situation comes up on my screen, my immediate reaction is thinking, does this one work, and how broken is this, and can I afford to invest resources into this, or should I just ignore it since it most likely won't work anyway? Which should not be the correct response to, dare I say, features in EU5. Now, I'm going to give you 2 examples of situations, both in the early game and both European, and ironically in the both of the cases I bring up, to my knowledge, the issues I mentioned are now fixed. The first is the 100 Years' War, which I mentioned England accidentally used to win sometimes, but that's the least of your worries. An annoying thing that EU5 did with this particular situation was gaslighting. See, when you declare war on France as England, or as England on France, you would use the 100 Years' War special claim throne CP, which would let you do cool things like try and flip French vassals over to your side as England, and transfer land subject at reduced cost, so on and so forth, right? Sounds great. Well, the war goal claimed by the game was show superiority. If you hovered over it, it would say win battles to get ticking war score. But this was a lie. The actual war goal for England was to take Paris, meaning that there were like 6 bug reports of people going, I have 50 war score from battles, literally the cap of war score from battles. Why do I have minus 30 war score from taking? Because the game was gaslighting you into the wrong war goal. And that's fine if you're playing as England and you declared the war, you could, conceptually get to Paris to get ticking. But if you're France and you declared war on England, with the 100 Years' War casus belli, the war goal was London. You're not getting to London. But okay, you play England. You suffer through all the mechanic innovations and gaslighting, you win and you enforce your personal union of France. Well, I hope you took a bunch of land from France first, because if you didn't, France would be considered the stronger nation in the Union, as it was richer, had more land, more population, and, was basically just better. It's hard to describe the system EU5 uses for country power. It's like the old autonomy-adjusted development of EU4, or dare I say, institution-adjusted development, but it takes into account so much more like standing army size, urbanization, technologies, government reforms, and like everything under the sun. The best analogy, unironically, is think of the terrible mobile game I have 300,000 power in Viking Rise of Kingdoms. Oh, sorry, this is a VIP lounge, I need 1 million power to enter. Well, basically, if you don't take enough land from France as England, France would have a higher power ranking than you, meaning they would become the senior partner. It's kind of historically accurate, dare I say. I can imagine the English court just moving to France if they win the 100 Years' War and don't devastate France too much in the process. And I guess when Scotland got England under a personal union, England did kind of just become the senior partner anyway. But as a player, you've just fought the 100 Years' War to make yourself a junior partner of France. But okay, let's mention another fun bug event incident, the Italian Wars. Oh boy. First things first, as someone like France, you will get an option to do a campaign into Italy. If you hover over this button, it says this will remove 3 years of income from you, and I don't know what it does because I was scared of clicking the button. I mean, it clearly did something, but that something was it a special CB? Was it just going to straight up declare war on my behalf? I don't know. The button just said it removed 3k ducats, and that was it. Does this button declare war again? If I press it, does John Paradox arrive outside my house and give me a key to a holiday home in Spain because I'm the first person to press the button? It's not communicated in any way, at least when I played it 2 Influencer patches ago. But okay, I was already a bit involved in Italy as France, just a touch. I took a couple bits of northern Italy, as one does, right? And the way that the incident actually works is everyone in Italy picks a side. They're either aligned with one of the Italian big boys, or they're aligned with Spain or France, and in peace deals you can spend antagonism and war score to flip someone into your camp. Well, my next question is, what does winning the Italian Wars do? It seems like quite a lot of AE for me to flip a bunch of people into my camps, and it's in no way communicated what the reward for winning the Italian wars are. Do I get a pat on the back? Do I get plus 20 morale to the end of the game? I don't know. Game didn't tell me. It's just like, okay, there's the Italian wars now. Have fun. But okay, right? It's a new game. It's a learning experience. Let's go find out. And it was quite a bit antagonism intensive. But I went to my parliament. I got a claim on some random Italian person. I beat them up, and in the peace deal, I said, all right, I'm gonna make you join my faction. Woo! 40 antagonism later, and a day tick, the nation realizes they don't like me because I have, 40 antagonism, and I also declared war on them, so they leave my faction and join their original one back. Because they can just do that. And I still have 40 antagonism, and just did a war that did absolutely nothing. Very based, very funny, and as far as I know, it's fixed now. But when I say that EU5 has a bunch of bugs, this is what I mean. And if you want a more concentrated bug reporting session, just watch a Playmaker stream, let's be honest. But I do want to reiterate, all the issues I've said so far are bad, the bugs suck, and yet I still play the game, and I'm still enjoying the game a lot, because despite having a 75% chance of any incident being broken, the game is still very good. The mechanics, the vision, the actual gameplay, dare I say, of, well, playing the game is all great. My fundamental worry at the moment is not a lack of flavour for Scotland or something, the amount of stuff already present in that regard is incredible. Now, what I worry about at the moment is a genuine and unironic, can they find and fix all the bugs in time before release? And honestly, at the rate they're going, I think they can. They've done an incredible job so far, but I don't want to sign off on this game before they've done that. I cannot understate, again, just how many bugs they've already fixed, but I hope you see my point with these examples. See, I'm going to assume that if you made it this far into the video, you probably at least somewhat care about my opinion, and if you are a me, have thousands of hours in Paradox games and are ready to play it for 20 hours on day 1, your plans should remain unchanged. But if you are waiting for reviews to play EU5 not on day 1, but on day 3 or day 5 or day 7, don't. The complexities of the game, combined with the digging required for the bugs, in my opinion, mean that if you're holding off, hold off for another month for a true ranking. I understand this isn't a very positive outtake in that regard, but it remains my suggestion nevertheless. But if you're one of the people counting down the days until release, look, it's already fine and very playable, and I'm enjoying it right now, so that's all I can really say on that topic. Nevertheless, the bugs are unironically, in my opinion, the main issue. Right, I hope this video was helpful for you, but nevertheless, this is all the time I have for you today. Thank you very much for watching, with a special thank you to my channel members, especially Ark, Soda, Slemon, Lozendika, Nikas, Nanhatan, Star72, The Awesome Rabbit, Bessere Gaming, Grandma Flavia, La Brule, W Haste, Sov, Anthony35, AC Napo, Conspiracy Pizza, Yukata, Danray, Marvi, Jack, Ryland, Stuart Allen, Andrew Black, Nebula, Zentronic, and Twyner.